So you got some skeletons. They now have paint on their bones and on their rags and on the bases. But what about, they didn't just show up to hang out. They brought swords, shields.
What about their weapons?
What about the weapons? They're not good weapons. They're not clean weapons.
They're dull. They're rusty. They're old. They're skeletons. Mm-hmm. So in this video, we're going to talk about some basic techniques to achieving a sort of a rusty finish. Just working with some true metallics and then using opaque paints I know you can use weathering powders and stuff, but we're just using plain paints this time to create a rusty after effect for our skeletons' weaponry, belt buckles, shields.
Tabletop quality, stuff that you're going to play with.
Yep, yeah. Definitely going for the tabletop quality for the tabletop minions. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to our third part in this little series on the Sepulchral Guard. This time around, we're going to be working on the metallics, on the corroded metals, the shields, the swords, and all that. So to begin, you can see I have the model base coated with some Vallejo oily steel, and then I just put a wash of Army Painter's dark tone over it, just a black wash, which I figured we'd skip that part on the video to make things quicker. I think everyone knows how to base coat something and then put an evenly coated wash on it. So that's what I did to get to this point, and now we're just going to have a little fun with just mixing up some washes, some rusty tones. I've got P3's Bloodstone and Cador Red highlight picked out for that. So here we go. Just going to mix down a really washy, watery version of this Bloodstone. I'll paint on my thumb so you can just get an example of the consistency there. It's pretty thin, semi-transparent. We're going to slowly build this up layer by layer. And keeping in mind where rust naturally tends to settle in the crevices or on the bolts, etc. I'm just going to kind of work it into the cracks, let gravity do some of the work for me, put some random dots on there as well, because I'm trying to create irregularities, just like anyone who's observed rust in real life. It kind of follows its own rules. This is also a nice complementary color. It's starting to set off the rest of the paint scheme for us. Obviously, all these little pit marks would be accumulating some rust. Try to push some more towards the base of the blade to create some illusion of a shadow. Get that belt buckle, little heavy metal armband. And yeah, just do this to taste. I usually do 2 passes of this because as it dries, it'll desaturate on you a little bit. You can see the shield there, all those different little lighter marks. I'll go put some dots over that. And just kind of increase my roughness. And next I'll move on to mixing a little bit of the Cador Red highlight, which is just a real pure bright orange. Mix that in with the Bestial Brown, and not completely covering the areas that I hit with the Bestial Brown. I'll bring this to some finer points and start to drop that in there. Yeah, get some nice rusty tones. And this is not the only way to do rust. There are also pigments and weathering powders out there that you can use. For me, this time around, though, I'm just sticking with my paint. I like to keep things simple. If anyone has any weathering pigments or materials of that nature that they'd like to be used in these videos, send them along. I like free stuff, and I like trying new things. Continue with those pit marks, the belt buckle a little bit. Yeah. So you can see there I've got some nice rusty tones going on. And now to kind of bring back some detail into the picture, I'm just going to do some edge highlighting with Mithril Silver, which I think this is an old bottle of paint. It might be discontinued now. I don't know what GW is calling their brightest silver, but there are many other equivalents and brands that carry bright silver. So I'm just using the brightest one, and similar to the way that we were highlighting the belt and all the like the cracked leather portions, I'm going to use some edge highlighting and some just spotting. Like I want to get some little dots going for texture, pick out the head of every bolt, get some of those lower edges where the light would be catching more. This bottom rim of the shield would be a good example. You can also add some little random scrapes for battle damage. Let's add some nicks and dents. Get that upper edge. And just like so. Yeah, you can see we're starting to get some cool contrast going on. Keep your light source in mind too. You want to add some more of the kind of nicks and dents towards the upper portion of the shield to give it that kind of nice top-down effect. Because you know the area of the model that is most perpendicular to the light source will receive the most highlighting. Yeah, just like that. Move over to the sword and do a little quick edge highlight. I'm going to add some little skips along the way so it looks chipped and used. These are rusty, dull skeleton swords. I wonder if it even cut anybody. And a couple scrapes and slash marks. We want this to look heavily used. Okay, that's just about good on the sword. I want to hit this little part by the hilt. Make sure to highlight that handle. Yeah, there you have it. There's some quick and dirty sepulchral guard weaponry. If you wanted to further define things for yourself, you could do a little bit of black lining towards the end. I'll move back to a little bit of black and thornwood green that I was using in a previous video. Maybe just line it out like so. That's a little thick, so I'll just go and absorb some of it back up with the brush by licking it and then using it like a sponge. Further define some of those details. Yeah. Not too shabby, just shabby enough. That's what you get with Tabletop Minions. So I'd like to thank Adam and everybody for making this possible. All the people at the Tabletop Minions team. Thanks to Joe from Orthrober Studios for the plinth. And if you want to catch up with me on my daily work in progress, The Fantasy Art of Sam Lenz on Facebook, samsonminis.blogspot.com online. And thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.